So I'm here with Emmy, and I was just thinking about how we take care of our dolls, and that is also a part of the fun for some of us. You know, doing our little bathing routine, when we take the babies and we put them in the bathtub, and the baby bathtub or the sink or however you wash your baby off. You're really just rinsing off any dust or lint or whatever, off of the baby, fuzzies off of the baby. And that's, when it's a full silicone. When it's a vinyl, I usually take like a Q-tip, and I will like damp it, and I will like go in the nostrils, inside the eyes if the eyes are open, or even if they're not open, in the corners, in their ears, and their around their fingers, and different creases and stuff where dust may have settled or whatever. And so that's part of the fun, maintaining them. But I feel like sometimes people like over exaggerate the care for like silicone specifically. And I don't know if that's to make it sound like it be the medium is just so different from vinyl. And when it's not, as far as care goes, because I like will have my silicone babies and stuff, and I won't put them in water but maybe once every year or every other year. Back in the day I would do it a little bit more frequently when we used to do a lot of bathing videos on YouTube. But even then it would be like twice a year. But that was something more for fun and entertainment. I feel like you can go years without doing it if you keep them like covered or with clothes, or if you interact with them regularly. I find that they collect less dust. Like for instance with Phoebe and Vegas. Phoebe, because I don't interact with her as much as I did when she was fairly new, she tends to be more dusty, and she does need a bath. Like she does tend to have more lint fuzzies, I would say, and stuff like that, than Vegas, because I do still move Vegas around even though I don't interact with him as much. So I found that to be a thing. Now when you're doing like the like inside their mouths, and you're using the KY for the pacifiers and stuff like that, I do find that taking a damp cloth and wiping out the inside of the mouth every so often is definitely necessary, because you do get that build-up there. As far as matting goes, sorry guys, she need her tongue back. As far as matting goes, I don't do that unless the baby is like extremely has a lot of shine spots. One or two shine spots, unless it's in their face or main area. I don't do that. I'm gonna tell you what the matting do. The matting do. A lot of unnecessary matting really does the paint job on the baby, and it does give them like a fammy look often when you do that. And also it requires you to wash them off because of the buildup from the matting powder. If the baby is not sticky, it's no need for that. A lot of people also tell people, oh, you need to mat them down to help change their clothes. It makes it, a lot of these things make it sound, it sounds good, and it sounds like, oh, you have to do these special things for these special babies. You don't have to do that. Like, it's, to me, it doesn't make the clothes glide on any easier than without matting them. It's the weirdest thing to me. If the baby is already matted, why do you need to remat it to put on the clothes? It's just like, we do the realism, but then we cover our babies with plastic bags to change their clothes. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, you have these big garbage bags on their hands, and all over their heads, and all that. It's just, to me, it's just the craziest thing. And you're gonna hear me keep saying that throughout the video. It's the craziest thing. Like, I look at that and I'm just like, rolling my eyes like, you gotta be kidding me right now. Like, baby sleeping on trash bags and all that. Like, girl, what? Oh my gosh, it is so funny. First of all, and definitely with the babies with this hair thing, with these, they have to have silk pillows and satin caps and all this and stuff. Let me tell you something. If those babies are going to lose hair, they're going to lose their hair. That's on period. I have a doll that's by a particular artist that it kind of rolls, the hair kind of rolls up, and I feel like it kind of would easily mat. And that hair, I don't know what the longevity is going to be for that one. But for the most part, when people use, you know, pretty good mohair, you're not really going to have as much issue. I have Paris Miamore, and although at the time her artist was not rooting as good now, and it, you know, back in the day, it was, I didn't know, she was like my second or third, you know, reborn, and you know, I thought it was great, but the hair is very pluggy and it's not directionally rooted or anything like that, so it can tangle or mat easily. But once I did a conditioner wash, rinse on it once because the hair was bleeding, and because the hair was bleeding, the artist told me it was her first time using this brand of mohair, and she said, you know, put a little bit of conditioner and water on the head, let it sit for a few minutes, and then rinse it out with cold water, and it won't bleed anymore. And voila, that really did work, and it really did help. And so her hair doesn't bleed anymore. But it would tangle and mat really a lot. So what I did was I used fabric softener and water, and I combed through it. And so once I did that, her hair doesn't really tangle, even though it's not directionally rooted and it's pretty pluggy. It does, you know, really nice. And she hasn't lost any of her hair, and she's been around for, you know, like I said, 10 years, and I've never put nothing on her head. She doesn't, you know, sometimes she have on a hat, sometimes she don't. But I don't do anything special other than every so often I do, you know, comb through it, whatever, you know, make sure I spray it, or I rinse it out every, you know, so many years. I might rinse it if I feel like it's got buildup on it. But so for me, that's just haven't been my experience. I also have another baby with very fine rooted hair, by Patricia Reborn Babies, Baby Blessing. His hair is rooted very, very fine. And I don't do any of that stuff with his hair as well. And it stays in place, and he hasn't lost his hair, and I've had him here for probably about 4 years or 5 years. I have to go back and check, but he's been here for a while, maybe even longer. Maybe actually been, yeah, maybe over 5 years. So that's the other thing too for me. Like, I know I get a baby, I sell a baby, I say I'm gonna keep it, I let it go, I rotate babies in and out, in and out. One of the things that I do, I'm trying to do, and what I like doing, is holding my babies here for a while. Like Phoebe, you know, she's not one that's ever going to be sold, but I have Vegas. I trying to keep like some of my silicone babies for a long time, just to see how they hold up with me in the way that I take care of my babies. And then, you know, it kind of lets me know if I'm doing something right, or if I need to change my method of the way I do stuff, because I create my dolls for enjoyment, for us to be able to role play or dress them as many times as we like and stuff. Put them in water and not have to worry about the paint coming off when you take them out the bath. I feel like anything excessive will definitely compromise the quality of the baby over time. The wear and tear may be harsher if you're not, you know, doing, you know, if you're doing like extra stuff, you're putting lotion on the baby, or you're using, you know, different powders and all this stuff. And, you know, I just feel like, yeah, that's going to change the way that baby lasts or, you know, hold up. Excessive rubbing, like you're constantly rubbing. Like literally, if we rub our skin excessively, too harsh and too long, we're gonna see a reaction to our skin as human beings. So imagine artwork, paint, a doll. So anyway, as far as what else with silicone, so we constantly in videos you'll see us like, oh, picking off this hair is dropping on the baby, this, that, and other, and we do this stuff because we're aware and we're conscious, and a lot of times you as a viewer can't even see what we're picking off, so we look like idiots. But overall, silicone babies don't really like, it's not like they just like like they're so sticky, and you're just like, if they were so sticky icky the way that it come across from a lot of people, we wouldn't want to touch them. Like, think about it. Like, you know, nobody want to snuggle up to a lollipop that's been in the dirt, you know what I mean? That's kind of like how they make it sound like with the silicone. The other thing is, you know, when babies have drinking wets, now, back in the day when they had the jointed necks, I remember there was one particular sculptor, her dolls would leak out the neck, or, you know, yeah, I can see that being an issue because this water is not going straight down the tube and out. It's actually leaking places that you may not be able to get to and dry. And so, yeah, I can see that being an issue. At the same time, though, if you don't have like, when you have like mold and stuff, and mildew, like say for instance, like you go in bathrooms in the corner of the creases, that's because they had soap scum there, they had other organisms that created along with the moisture to create that. Water just alone by itself, yeah, no, you don't see that. Like, if you take an old water bottle and you have it sitting for weeks and months, and you're not gonna see like mold growing off of it in the inside, because it's just water. So drinking wets, I feel like, is completely safe when you're not feeding the baby formula and you're doing all this stuff. And if you feel a little froggy and you feel confident that your baby is properly cured, and you feed it like straight alcohol, rubbing alcohol, just to run through that alcohol is going to make whatever moisture evaporate really quickly, and it's going to sterilize the inside, so you're going to be fine. I still don't think that, oh yeah, give it formula and then do the alcohol. I still think you're really risking it, and the baby breath is going to stink, and the doll may start to stink. Like, but again, I am not judging those who do that because it's their money, it's their doll. As long as when they get ready to sell it, they disclose, hey, I do occasionally, you know, feed it with formula or blah, 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 but I clean it thoroughly, then that's up to the buyer to make an informed decision if they want to still buy that doll. But that's their money and their right to do whatever they want to do with their dolls. I'm not mad at that. And I totally get they want to see the realism of the you know, the formula and them drinking it and all that and stuff. I mean, yeah, okay. But that's not what I want to do with my dolls. So, which is why I don't feel like the drinking wet is that important anymore. I liked it with the boys because the boys, of course, stay ski. So when they urinate, and when we were able to do that on YouTube, it would be funny for me to be changing the baby and the baby just like, and hold the baby up and the baby just, you know, it would be entertaining, you know, for the role play part. But now that we can't really do that, drinking wets are not that really high up on my list. Like, it's like the very least favorite thing for me. But if you are a person that want the drinking wet and like it, then it's definitely, I feel like, safe to have. And the best part about it is warm, you know, just warm your bottle, the water. Like, if you're using the really warm water, now I do like the way that feels because it just adds realism. Like, you're holding the baby, right? And so you know how you keep your hand kind of like this, and you're feeding the baby. And as you're feeding the baby and it starts to wet, you can feel the warmth coming in the diaper. And if you've ever held a real baby and they they go pee pee and they pamper while you're holding it, you know, you be like, oh, like I remember like when my grandbabies were little and I'd be holding them like, oh, you just change their diaper and you're like, now I just changed their diaper and they're wetting their diaper already because you can feel the warmth. So that is like an added realism. So I get that. It's a lot of things too, just the whole simulation of, you know, giving them a bottle, just, you know, give that thing. And we like to be pretty judgmental on how people interact with their dolls and the role play and stuff. But, you know, regardless of if the person is collecting because they don't have kids or they never had kids, where they miss having their babies when they were babies, however they enjoy their dolls is fine. I am not for the breastfeeding dolls. I think that's, you know, out of my league there. And one of the main reasons, again, why I'm definitely not for that is because a lot of us end up selling our dolls. And I know they can be cleaned. I know, you know, especially with like with the silicone, you can put them in a bath. I know that, but it's just the whole thought process of it all. I can't get on that bandwagon. But to each his own. Again, if you spend your money and that's what you want to do, then, you know, whatever. Because at the end of the day, the truth be told, we don't know who's sitting here really breastfeeding their babies off camera anyway, if we really be honest. I can tell you all day that I don't do it and then turn the camera off and pop a, you know, a nippy right in one of them mouth, which, okay, well, that's enough on that, because that's that's weird. I don't know, it's sorry. Okay, I'm trying not to be judgy, but it's, yeah, it's called Dr. Phil. No, okay, for real. Let's move past that. Trying to think of other things about caring for them. Back in the day, they said you could use powder that was 100% cornstarch. Do not use anything with vitamin E or aloe or nothing like that. Baby powder, it didn't bother the babies. Now they all have this matte powder that you can use to mat them down. You got what is it, silicone velvet, which Silicone Studio is now selling, and you have D3 just matte that you can get and mat your babies with, and people say that that's even better than using the actual, you know, regular powder, since it was made for these dolls. And so you do have those options. I've used powder back in the day and it didn't do anything to my dolls, the regular powder. But hey, again, we got to make it special. We got to make it, you know. So that's that, you know. That's all I can say is, you know, try not to do a lot of excessive rubbing on the lip area. A lot of people do a lot of in and out, pulling, feeding, and that top layer of sealing or glossing on the baby lips, you'll get a peel there. I've had it with my dolls before in the past. probably will be in the future every now and then. Not my, you know, just dolls overall. I've, not a lot, but I've had it happen occasionally. But that's from excessive rubbing back and forth type thing. So it's pretty good for you to actually use like the KY or something like that that's going to do an easy glide, that's not going to cause as much friction. What else? Try not to do all this like pulling and stretching of the mouth. And you know, people used to squeeze the cheek to get the bottle in. I mean, I guess I prefer that other than the pulling downward, because you're pulling down and then the corners of the mouth, you can easily split the corner of the mouth. That is something that you should be aware of. But again, when you use KY, you don't have to do as much of that. But if the baby mouth is tight, you might have to. So just little things. So where I don't feel like it's like a ton of, you know, extra care you have to do with silicone, I do feel like depending on what you do with your dolls, you do have to be, you know, aware of certain things and cautious of certain things. Just like when you picking up a silicone in a full body, you have to be aware of like their under armpits, like, you know, is it like extra skin there? Like, see, hers is like totally separate. Let me move my hand. See, it's separate right here. So I can easily grab under her armpits if I need to on both sides. But even still, you don't want to like pull the doll up by the just arms and stuff like that. As far as like moving the armatures and stuff, I like to kind of like guide my baby armatures in a natural way. Like I don't like that whole, oh, you gotta hold it here. It just looks so fake to me. Like I like to, if I'm gonna, you know what I mean, like I literally just pose this baby without you guys, like, you know what I mean, like, you see what I'm saying? Like without it looking like I'm working with a wire. Like this one, you know what I mean? Like I'm just naturally pushing the baby. As that hair I was telling y'all about, it was from the other blanket. Well, if I upload the other video. But yeah, sorry. When I took it off, it sprung right back. Like I have to make sure, go away. But yeah, so like, you know, you just kind of move them gently, but don't force them in a position that they are not intended to go. This baby has them in her shoulders and stuff, so she can, you know, do this, and you know, she has them in her hands and her wrist or whatever. But you know, you just want to be careful. You want to, I'm not gonna like if I know this seems to be the limit, I'm not gonna push this baby arm all the way up just because I'm trying to get it in a pose and it feels like I'm forcing it. I need it to move naturally. If it doesn't move naturally with the flow of just, you know, a little gentle touch, then that to me is too much force. If I really gotta work with it and push it and manipulate it, that's too much. Same with, you know, the babies with turning their necks and stuff. You know, if you gotta prop them or something, then that's what you gotta do. But don't put the pressure on the doll. Put the pressure on something else. If I feel like this arm is, you know, if I feel like it's not supposed to go up, it's not going up well, because depending on the incline or how you're laying that doll, you may have to change the position of the arms and stuff. But I'm gonna do it to a way that it just feels comfortable and feels natural with them. I'm gonna turn the head. I'm not gonna be cranking the head and all that and stuff. I'm gonna like take her head and I'll just lay it. And if it just naturally lays, it just naturally lays, girl. What? Let me show y'all her on this side. It's just so cute when she's on this side. So there you go. That's my favorite side for her when she's on her tummy. But yeah, so I'll just, you know, like I noticed with her with the armatures, her legs don't tuck underneath her as much. I'm not gonna force that. If they go out like this, then that's the way they go out. I am not gonna force it. When you go to forcing it, that's when you run into issues. And then, you know, everybody want to run to their artist, or they want to say it's the sculptor's fault. If I have armatures, and I do have a baby with armatures that is not working properly anymore or whatever, I am not going to run to the sculptor and say, oh, you did this, you did that. It's a doll. I've interacted with it. God knows what happened, what caused it. I don't know. But the doll is still enjoyable. I'm still having fun with it. I am not that worried. So don't get stressed out about some of the small stuff. The main thing is that the baby keeps his hair and the painting. And then matting can even be touched up, or you can even do the powder if you don't want to send your baby out. So those are the main things that you want to be more concerned about. But even with that, if over time, if you know 10 years from now some of her paint fades or something like that, I've enjoyed it. I mean, you get a car and you spend $20,000 for that car, and after 5, 6, 7 years you need a new engine or you need a new car, and you've paid well more than $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for it, or $6,000 for it. So yeah, that part, that's the way I look at it. It just makes life better for me. But anyway, this has been a very long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me comments in the comment section on any other topics that you would like to know about, or like me to talk about, discuss, or give my opinion on. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.